Good morning, grade sixes, and welcome to your daily lesson of mathematics brought to you by worksheetcloud.com. I hope you guys are well. Today we start a new topic, so we're leaving fractions, decimals, and percentages. I'm sure there's a big hooray from your end. And today we're actually going to have a look at angles, or start having a look at angles. Okay. Just a reminder about the email address on your screen, grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Please feel free to use this to send me any questions relating to previous topics, anything relating to today, or perhaps there's something that you would like me to cover, and I'm more than happy to put something together to help you out if you have questions on content we haven't covered yet. Okay, so today we are looking at angles, as I mentioned, and then we've got your warm-up and mental maths questions and brain benders and challenges on either side of that main topic. Okay, your warm-up for today is to find the value of the symbols and the question mark at the end. Go ahead and give this a shot, get that brain warmed up, and press play to see how you guys have done. Well done for working through that. So I'm going to start at the top line. And I need to say there are 5 cupcakes. 5 cupcakes goes into 220. How many times? So 220 divided by 5 is 88. All right, so sorry, not 88, 44. So 1 cupcake is 44. So 2 cupcakes are then 88. So 88 plus 88 plus 44. Okay, and if you work that out, you should get 220. Just quickly, how would I work that out mentally as quickly as I can? I'd say 80 plus 80 plus 40 is 200, and then I would have a look at the units and say 8 plus 8 plus 4 is 20, and then that gives me your 220. Okay, I then know that I've got 88 and I must add 3 to get to 91, so that must be plus 2 and plus 1. Okay, then I know that 2 multiplied by something and then add something equals 0. So I'm going to say 2 multiplied by 0 plus 0 is equal to 0, which indeed it is. And then my cupcakes at the bottom is 88. Okay, my 2 smoothies are 0. We know that 88 multiplied by 0 is 0, and I do that operation first because multiply comes before addition, and I need to add 2 on the end, so I know that my question mark's answer is 2. Okay, well done for working through that. Right, your mental mathematics for today is to do the following 5 questions. So there's a long multiplication for you in number 1. Some conversions in number 2, so it's quite a big conversion today. Okay, so don't be surprised if your answer is a really big number. Write 2 p.m. in 24-hour time, some fraction calculation, and then a long division question at the end, which I would encourage you to work out using multiplication. But have a look at the sum and see if you can make it easier for yourself before actually working anything out. Okay, there's a clue there for you. Off you go and give it a shot. Okay guys, well done for getting through that. So my first question, 237 multiplied by 36, sorry, not 36, 56. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to make the question easier for myself. So I'm going to do a bit of doubling and halving. So I'm going to double 237 to 474. Multiplied by 28, so I've halved 56. Okay, I'm then going to double again, and that's going to give me 948. Okay, and that's going to be multiplied by 14. Okay. And then I can do it again. I can do it once more. That's 1,896 multiplied by 7. Okay, and then I can just do short multiplication. So before I do that short multiplication, I just want to highlight that all I've done is I've doubled or I've halved, okay? And when I've doubled, I've done that through just splitting up the numbers. So for example, 237 doubled, I've gone 200 doubled is 400, and then I've doubled the 37 to 74. For 474, I've doubled the 400 to 800, I've doubled the 74 to 148, and then I've just put them together. And the same for 948. I first doubled the 900 to 1800, and then I doubled the 48 to 96. So don't feel that you have to double the whole number at once. It's a lot easier if you break it apart and then put it back together at the end. And then for this question here, I would have done the split strategy. So 7 times 1,000 is 7,000. 800 times 700 is 5,600. So make sure you put them in the correct columns. 90 times 7 is 630. And 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, and now it's just a case of adding. And once you've added up all those, you'll get 13,272. Okay, so yeah, work through those and see how you go. I just think, yeah, those methods are a little bit easier for you to understand what's actually happening with those numbers. Okay, just remember, I couldn't halve the 237. Well, you could halve the 237 and double the 56, but then you're going to be working with decimals, which we are trying to avoid. Okay, how many millimeters in a kilometer? Excuse me. So we know 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Okay, we should know that there are 100 centimeters in a meter. Okay, so to get from meters to centimeters, I need to multiply by 100. So it's going to be 1,000 multiplied by 100, which is 100,000 centimeters. Okay, and I know that there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So to get from centimeters to millimeters, I must multiply by 10. And if I multiply by 10, I need to add another 0. So you can see there are 5 zeros there and 6 zeros for millimeters. So it's 1 million millimeters. Okay. Then 2 p.m. in 24-hour time is 1,400. Okay. And remember, to get from 2 p.m. to the 24-hour time, I'm just adding 12. Okay, so it's the same for 3 p.m. is 1,500. So 3 plus 12 is 15, or 4 p.m. is 1,600. 4 plus 12 is 16. Okay. Your fraction calculation for today. Let's clear a bit of space. Okay. And that is 3/5 plus 1/6 minus 2/3. And we can do those all together. And my lowest common denominator there is going to be 30. Okay, so 5 goes into 36 times. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 goes into 35 times. 5 times 1 is 5. 3 goes into 30 10 times. 10 times 2 is 20. All right, and then if I work that out at the top, that's going to give me 3/30. And if I simplify that, that's 1/10. 1,886 divided by 24. I'm first going to do it as 1,886 divided by 24. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my table. Hang on. All right, I'm multiplying by 24. Okay, so if I multiply by 10 first, 240. If I then double that, 480. If I then double that, 960. Okay, and if I multiply it by 100, it's 2,400. Okay, now I'm going to look at those numbers and I'm going to see what can I do with them. So I know that if I subtract 2,400 and 480, right, I'm going to be left with 1,920. Okay, and that's getting me relatively close to 1,886. So now I know that it's 100 times to 2,400. It's 20 times for 480. So I know that 80 multiplied by 24 is equal to 1,920. Okay, and now it's just a case of going back an additional 24. So if I go 79 multiplied by 24, right, and I go back 24 from there, I'm going to get 1896. Okay, I can see that I still need to go back further. So if I go back further, and I just need to make some space here. So if I said 78 and I took 24 off this 96, that's 1872. Okay, and I can see from there that I've got 14 to go to 1,886. So my answer is going to be 78 remainder 14. Okay, so 78 remainder 14. Now if you wrote that as a fraction, it's going to be 78 remainder 14 over 24. Okay, which when simplified is 7 over 12. Okay, so that would be how you work through that. If you had listened to my little clue or little hint, I said to you, how can you make that question easier for yourself? Okay, and let's see if that works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to halve both 1,886. Okay, so if I halve 1,800, that's 900. If I halve 86, that's 43. So that's going to be 943 divided by 12. Okay, and let's see what happens here if I do it with 12. 12 times 10 is 120. I'm going to say 12 times 100 is 1,200. Okay, I need to get to 943. So if I know that 12 times 10 is 120, then 12 times 20 must be 240. Okay, if I take 1,200 and I subtract the 240, I'm going to be left with 960. Okay, not far away from 943. So if I just work that out now, I know that it's 100 times minus 20 times. So 80 times 12 equals 960. All right, and then I'll just keep going back. 79 times 12 is going to be 948. Okay, so I'm still not there. So then 78 times 12 is going to be equal to 936. All right. Okay, so it's going to be 936. I've got a remainder of 7. Okay, so I've got 7 to go. So my answer is going to be 78 remainder 7. And I'll just write that there. 78 remainder 7 over 12. And as you can see, it's the same answer as the 1,886 divided by 24. Okay, so there, my argument there is all I've done is I've multiplied by 10. I've either doubled it or I've multiplied by 100, and we can all do that. And then I've just gone and played with the numbers and I've subtracted until I get to a number close to what I'm looking for, and then I figure out what the remainder is. Okay, I hope that that's making your long division experience a little bit more understanding. Okay, so today we're going to move on to angles. Okay, and we're going to just look at different types of angles. Okay, so there are not many of them. Okay, your first type of angle is an acute angle, all right, and those are angles that are less than 90 degrees. Okay, so I always tell my classes that if something is acute, it's very small. So that's one way for you to remember acute angles being smaller than 90. Okay, and there it is, acute angles are less than 90 degrees. And those are some of the angles that would be acute angles. Okay, so acute angles less than 90 degrees. Then we will get right angles, and a right angle will occur when a horizontal line and a vertical line meet. Okay, so there's a horizontal line, all right? That's a vertical line, and where those two lines meet, if I put a protractor over this little corner where the vertical and horizontal line meet, you'll see that the vertical line lines up with the 90-degree sign. Okay, so that is how we normally show 90-degree angles, by using a little square in the 90-degree angle. And the reason we use a square is because every single angle in the corner of the square is 90 degrees. Okay, so that's the reason behind that. And a right angle is an angle of 90 degrees. Okay, if we look at an angle, so just that other note there is, if the angle between two lines is 90 degrees or a right angle, then we know the lines are perpendicular to each other. So the word perpendicular means that two lines meet at 90 degrees. So those two lines in number 1 are perpendicular because they meet at 90 degrees. In number 2, those two lines, that horizontal and that vertical line, are perpendicular because they meet at 90 degrees. And I'm hoping you can see that third one where they meet at 90 degrees. Okay, so just quickly on perpendicular lines. So if you have two lines that meet and they form a 90-degree angle, and there are two 90-degree angles there, the other side of the vertical line, then we know those lines are perpendicular. And if the lines are at an angle, like they are at the bottom of the screen, we can still have perpendicular lines if they meet at 90 degrees. Just make sure you understand the difference between perpendicular and parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that never meet. They are always the exact same distance apart, whereas perpendicular lines do meet. Okay, so which simple shapes contain right angles? Okay, and we know that a square has 4 right angles, a rectangle has 4 right angles, a right angled triangle has a 90-degree angle, as it's called a right angled triangle. So yeah, there's some shapes which contain right angles. Okay, then we get onto obtuse angles. Okay, and obtuse angles are greater than 90 degrees. Okay, so these are some kind of examples of obtuse angles that are greater than 90 degrees, but they are less than 180. Okay, so those obtuse angles are between 90 and 180, and there are some examples of obtuse angles at the bottom of your screen. Okay, then the next type of angle is called a straight angle, which is found on a straight line. So on the screen at the moment, you can see a straight line, okay? And if we put a protractor on that straight line, you can see that the left-hand side starts at 0 and the right-hand side starts at 180. And you can see that it's half a circle that's created, and that is 180 degrees, okay? So I've just pointed out to you the 180 degrees on the protractor. Okay, and that helps you identify the straight line or the 180-degree angle. Okay, so all those lines, any line drawn by itself has an angle of 180 degrees. Okay, and then the last one is a reflex angle, and that is the angle that is formed, if you want to think about it, on the outside of where the two lines meet. So I always use my elbow to explain reflex angles to my class, and that angle is going around the outside of the elbow, and the elbow has a reflex joint, so That's one way to help remember it. So your reflex angles are greater than 180, but less than 360. Okay, so reflex angles go around the outside of where two lines meet. Okay, and those are all reflex angles on the outside of where the two lines meet. Okay, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to identify 9 angles. Just write them down, numbers 1 to 9 on a piece of paper. Write acute, obtuse, right angle, reflex angle, straight line. Tell me what you think each angle is, and then I'll go through them with you and we'll see how well you did. Okay, so there were the angles that you needed to tell me which were acute, obtuse, reflex, right or straight angles. So question number 1 would have been acute, it's less than 90. 2 would have been obtuse, greater than 90. 3 acute. 4 would have been reflex. You can see that angle is marked on the outside of where the two lines meet. 5 would have been a right angle. Some of you might have argued, but there's no square indicating the right angle, so perhaps technically you are correct, but my hope is that you could identify that one line is horizontal, one line is vertical, and they meet at a right angle. 6 would have been obtuse, it's a little bit bigger than 90. 7 acute, 8 reflex, and I think 9 is going to be maybe hidden from you, but that number 9 would have been obtuse. Okay, cool. Guys, there's your brain bender for today. Go and work out the value of the symbols in the multiplication table, and let's see how you guys get on with that. Okay guys, so with the multiplication table, I'm just going to fill in the missing numbers, or sorry, fill in the numbers that has been given to us. And let's have a look at how we're gonna work that all out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to look at is the boat, okay, because the boat is going to be equal, so I know that 9 multiplied by 9 is going to give me 81, okay, so if I know that boat is 9, I can put 9 in there for the boat, okay, 20 times 9 is 180, and 20 times 6 is 120. 9 multiplied by 6 is 54 for the credit card. I'm just trying to think where else can we go from here. Okay, so from there we can see that 9 multiplied by 3 is 27. Okay, and then 20 multiplied by 3 is 60. Right, I know that my fire hydrants are going to be equal. Okay, and then I can recognize that 1 multiplied by 3 is 3, 1 multiplied by the 9 is 9, and 1 multiplied by 6 means the bicycle is worth 6. Okay, guys, well done if you worked through that. The last thing for today is your 24 challenge, and remember you need to use the numbers on each card with either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division to come up with an answer of 24. So on the first card you got 1, 7, 6, and 2. How can you use 1, 7, 6, and 2 to come up with the answer of 24? See if there's more than one way you can come up with an answer of 24. Challenge someone at home, and then you remember you've got to do it 3 times, once for each of the 3 cards you can see on your screen. Okay guys, so that's us for today. Well done if you understood all those concepts and you were able to work through the work that I asked you to work through. Please send me any questions you might have on the email address grade6@worksheetcloud.com. Have a really good day, and I'm looking forward to catching up with you guys tomorrow. Cheers.